Hola clase, this is your week 2 recording, and I am just going through what we talked a little bit about in class already. But this is the end of week 1. So for today, you had to do your exploraciones gramaticales uno, and you are working on gender and gender of nouns. And then you also have your Ready and Learn It for the next section, which I'll be covering today. And then in Blackboard, you were supposed to write a conversation out between two people, and it's here. So you're just going to fill in whatever makes sense for the dialogue for that. Moving forward, what you have due coming up for next class, which is Monday, you are working on Exploraciones gramaticales dos, which are the definite and indefinite articles, which that's what I'll be teaching you today. And then you're also just previewing the next vocab section, the lexicas dos. And you also have a gender and number of nouns practice, which is here. So you want to complete that before Monday, the 13th by 11:59 p.m. One last thing, you also have the cultural products and practices discussion board here, where you're going to look at the statements. For example, all Latin Americans speak Spanish. Flamenco is a popular dance throughout South America. But not only just answering yes or no on if it's true or not on the stereotypes, but tell me more. Tell me why you think that those are true or false. So try to give me as much insight as you can on your ideas on that. If you need to look something up, that would be fine too. Right now, I'm just accessing your notes, which are in Module 2. So I'm in Module 2, Como Eres. And at the bottom, the last thing that you should see as you tab through it is the notes on definite and indefinite articles. So if you could open that and have that along, or just know that they're there for you to reference. And so they're going to look like this. And so what I need you to understand that in Spanish, we have these artículos definidos, and what those are 4 ways to say the. So remember, in Spanish, every noun has a gender. So we have to always look at the end of a word. So it might be amigo or amiga or lápiz. Every noun has a gender. So then that's going to help us decide which form of the do we use, because we have essentially 4 ways of saying the in Spanish. We have a singular and a plural, and we also have a masculine and a feminine. So for example, we have el, la, los, and las. Our masculine singular is going to be el. So for example, we could say something like el carro, the car. So we're saying the car. It's very simple. Los, so if we want to make a noun plural in Spanish, we talked about that we're just going to add an S if it ends in a vowel, like carro. And if it ends in a consonant, we're going to add ES. So to say the cars, because we can't say los carro, because it doesn't match. Everything kind of matches together like a puzzle. So here we're going to say los carros. And we're just going to add an S to that. Then so that's for masculine. So since we know that carro is masculine, we know we have to use our definite articles, which are masculine. Feminine words, so words that end in A's usually, typically, but there are other examples like words that end in dad or sion or tad. Those are going to be our feminine words. So words like la casa. So we know it ends in an A, we know it's feminine, we know it's only one, so we're not going to say las casa, we're going to say la casa. And then if we wanted to make this word plural, it ends in a vowel, we're going to add an S, so it would be las casas. So it's pretty simple overall. 4 ways to say the. We have to first know is the word masculine or feminine to decide which definite article to use. So examples here to say the winter, we have el invierno. If we were saying the winters, what would that be? Then we have la canción, the song. If we had more than one canción, it would be las canciones. And for the winter, it would have been los inviernos. La primavera, the spring. So say that we had the springs. That would be las primaveras. the month, el mes. To make that plural, we would say los meses. The boys, los muchachos. So if we just had the boy, just one, it would be el muchacho. Las ciudades, the cities. So how could we make that singular? La ciudad, just one. So we're getting rid of the ES. Since that word ciudad ends in a consonant, we know we add ES to that. And we are getting rid of the ES and also the S, so it's la ciudad. Las muchachas, so just one girl to say the girl would be la muchacha. Los sistemas, even though this word ends in an AS in this case because it's systems, because words that end in ma or pa, like the word problema, for example, that's actually a masculine word, el problema. So same thing with sistema, it's los sistemas. Ma and pa, both of those are going to be, so a word like mapa, it's not la mapa, it's el mapa. Those are irregular ones that end in an A, but they're actually masculine. So the singular form would be el sistema. Here's a little practice. This is also available in Module 2 at the end. So I want you to tell me, will I use el, la, los, or las to complete the sentence? So for numero uno, we want to say the friend. What would we say? That one's going to be el amigo. Numero dos, we want to say the schools. So look at that AS at the end. Are we going to use el, la, los, or las? We know it's plural, so we know we either have to use los or las. It ends in an AS, we know it's feminine, so las would be our feminine, las escuelas, the schools. And here we have the friend. Next we have profesor. We know that words that end in or, usually it would be ora if it were feminine. So this is a masculine word. Remember the word snorkels too. That will help you to know that even if a word ends in some letter, one of these letters in snorkels, it's probably going to be masculine for the most part. There are exceptions. So profesor is a masculine word. It's only one. So it would be el profesor. Conocidos. So these are the people that you know. This is the teacher, the professor. Conocidos. So the people, the known people. And because it ends in OS, we know it's masculine plural. It would be los. Muchacho, the boy, we want to say. El muchacho. The course. El curso de español, or el curso de filosofía. Alumnas, AS at the end. We know it's feminine. We know it's plural too. So which one would we use, los or las? Las alumnas, the students. Clase, that one ends in an E. Snorkels will not help us with this because even though it might be masculine, it's not. All classes are always feminine. La clase de español, la clase de inglés, la clase de mates. So for to say the class, we would say la clase. Continentes. So we don't know. It doesn't end in O. It doesn't end in A. It ends in E. So snorkels could help us with that one. Actually, it is masculine. So in its plural. So what our answer would be, los continentes. Profesora. So now instead of saying profesor, we have the female version. The teacher would be la profesora. So let's go back to our notes because we want to finish talking about, so we talked a little bit about definite articles. Now we have indefinite articles. So now we want to say things like a or some. So in the singular form, when you have un or una, that's going to be a. So just make sure you know that. You can jot it in your notes. Unos and unas, those both mean some. So if you have those forms, then you know that that's what it means. So for example, instead of el invierno, the winter, we want to say a winter. It's un invierno. Say that we wanted to say some winters. Some winters are hot or cold. Or hot or cold. So we would say unos inviernos. That would be the plural form. Una canción, a song. So say we wanted to say some songs. We would say unas canciones. Una primavera, a spring. So determine, we have to look at the A and decide, okay, it's feminine, singular. We're going to use una primavera. What about some springs? Unas primaveras. Next, we have un mes, a month. Some months, unos meses. We're going to take the word mes. We're going to make it plural by adding an es because that's what we do with consonants. Some months. Unos muchachos, some boys. Now we want to say a boy. We would say un muchacho. So the singular form of unos is un. The singular form of unas, so if we had unas muchachas to say a girl, we would say una muchacha. Some cities, unas ciudades. Now we want to change that to a city, una ciudad. So we're going to get rid of the es, and we're going to make unas una, which is the singular form. And then unos sistemas, some systems. We just want to say one system or a system. It's going to be un sistema. So let's do the same thing with the practice that we did before. So we're looking at these examples. To say a student, we just have one, so we know that it's probably going to be over here. Oops. So that's going to be un alumno, a student. Cursos, to say some courses, because it's plural, we're not going to use un or una because it's cursos. It has to be plural. So it's going to be unos. Muchacha, to say a girl. It's feminine singular, so do we use un or una? We say una muchacha, a girl. Conocido, someone you know, a person you know. That's going to be un conocido. Clases, we know are feminine, and clases, plural. So it's going to be unas clases, some classes. A teacher, a professor. Una profesora. Continente, we know it's masculine. We talked about it before. It ends in an E. Snorkels will help us. Is it un continente or una continente? It should be un. Amigas, some friends. That's going to be unas. A school. Un or una. Ends in an A, feminine. Una escuela. Some boys and girls. Plural. Mixed group, mixed gender, so it's going to be masculine, unos muchachos. Last thing I want to do is just remind you of your números. If you could count with me to 20. So repeat after me. We have uno, dos, tres, cuatro. You should know these by now, hopefully. Cinco. If you watch Sesame Street or any Dora in the past, you might have heard these. Seis, siete, not sete, but siete, so make sure you spell that right. Ocho, nueve, diez. And then we have once, doce, trece, catorce, catorce. It's a difficult spelling. Oops. Quince. And then don't forget after quince, that's when we start our 16, 17. So we have 16, we have 17, 10 and 7, 17, 18, 19, and then we're going to start with the next set of numbers now. So next we have, we're going from 20 all the way to 101. So what's cool about 20 to 101 is that it's basically a pattern now. So as we saw with 16, 17, 18, 19, now we're going to go 20. And think of the vein in your eyes so that you spell it right. Vein is spelled V-E-I-N. Oops. V-E-I-N-T-E, veinte, the vein in your eye, think of it. And then to say 21, we're just going to add on, we're going to say 21, and you could combine it. So it could be, and this is only in the 20s, and also you could do this with the teens. So instead of 16, you could, as one word, you could put 16, like you did with the 21. But it's a choice, 21, or you could say 22. So you're basically just adding the numbers, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 28, 9, and then, so you just add on. Same with 30. So you have 30, but you can't, it's all, these are separate words. Now you can't combine these. 31, 32, 33, you're going all the way up to 40. So 40, 40. And 41, 42, so it's y1, y2. Then you have 50, y1, y2, y3, y4. So you have to memorize these because there's no, some of them sound like 60, you have the word seis in it. 30, you kind of hear the word tres, same with 20, but some you'll just have to memorize. 61, 62, 63, we're going all the way up to 70, 70. And it's the same pattern, 71, 72, 73, all the way up to 80, 80, 81, 82. We're going all the way up to 90, 90, 91, 92. And then when you get to 100, 100 even is 100. But anything after 100, so 101 to all the way up to 199 is going to be 100, so 101, 102, 103, all the way to 199. So if you had 135, it would be what? 135. So you're just going to take those lower numbers that you learned and you're going to add on. So then say that we had 155 or 56, let's say. So in that case, it would be 100. And we're going to say 56. We know it's 56. So it's pretty simple once you know your basic numbers that you're just going to add on to those. There is one guy that I like on YouTube, and his name is Basho. He's a kind of a Mexican rapper teacher, and he has a numbers video, numbers 1 through 1,000. And it's going to give you some numbers you haven't learned yet, but in general, he is a fun guy to learn from. So if you want to take a look at his video, I like it because it shows you the pattern of the numbers. So just focus on the beginning of that video where he's just doing the numbers 1 through 100. He repeats it though. If you were in my class in person, we would be doing a lot more music, but we do a little bit still in the online version. And I do encourage you to listen to music because it has that repetitious, those patterns, and those will help you to learn a language. Music is a wonderful way to learn languages. It's very effective. So muchas gracias. Adios, amigos.